Welcome, everybody, to the College Football Weekly Pick'em Show. We're at Week 2. The College Football Weekly Pick'em Show is brought to you by MyBookie.ag. MyBookie has been in business for years, and their rep is rock solid. They do 100% cash bonuses. So off the bat right there, you're making money for doing nothing. And they have the fastest payout, seriously, just 2 business days. You know who's going to win, right? So lay down some cash and win big today. Go to mybookie.ag and use the promo code CFBPicks to get your 100% cash bonus. I'm your host for the College Football Weekly Pick'em Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now I want to welcome in my 2 co-hosts. First up, Brian Schmidt. How you doing, Brian?
Doing good. Getting ready to pick some games and enjoy some football this weekend.
All right. And, of course, we've got from the Alabama Crimson Tide, played under Bear Bryant, the old offensive lineman, and I do mean old, Bill Searcy. How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing good, man. I'm feeling energized because the Tide won.
Well, hell, they always win.
That's right.
When they
but we lost our last game before this one, so yeah. Except for
So we'll start off here. Well, just give me your biggest takeaway from Week 1, Bill. I know this is going to be Alabama-related, probably.
Yeah, I'll start with that. I was surprised. I went into the game worried about the defense because we have so many young guys without much game experience on that side of the ball, and not so much worried about the offense because I had heard that we were loaded with talent, which I think we are. Unfortunately, a lot of that talent doesn't have game experience either. So, takeaway was we've got a great defense, lots of speed, playing angry like they always do. I think probably can develop into one of the better defenses in the country this year, although we lost a couple of key guys last week. Offense, jury's still out as far as I'm concerned. Quarterback, although he was the SEC Player of the Year, he's a great athlete and he's a playmaker, but I don't know about him how great of a quarterback he is. And, I mean, honestly, he as great as he can be, he was more of a liability, I think, than an asset going in after this first game. So we'll just have to see how that improves. All in all, I mean, I think Alabama's got a great team. Do I pick them for the national championship? I don't know yet. I didn't think I was watching number 1 and number 3 Saturday at the game. No doubt they're in the top tier, but I'm not sure if they're number 1 material yet.
And my question, Bill, is this. The SEC is, after a down year the last year or two, LSU and Auburn are big, physical, dominant teams, especially on defense, that I think could give Bama a problem.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch the whole LSU game, but I did watch enough of it to see that, once again, they're very talented, and I do think they look better than I saw them look last year. I think they're playing with a lot more confidence, and I think LSU will give Alabama a tough time this year, even though, playing at home in Tuscaloosa still, I think they're going to give them a tough time. And Texas A&M, I turned it off at halftime, and because I truly thought that at halftime I was thinking, wow, Alabama could be in trouble playing this team because they looked like one of the best teams in the country for the first half. I mean, they got a bunch of big, strong, fast athletes. I mean, on defense and on offense, they were running the ball at will, and then obviously changed their game plan at halftime and fell apart. So I'm not really sure what to think about them. UCLA, I like Josh Rosen, and I like what he did the other night and coming back. I just don't know about Texas A&M. I don't know what to tell you. I thought they were one of the top teams in the West for the first half, and then after the whole game, when the game ended, I'm not sure if they can even have a winning record this year.
Yeah, and the thing that blew my mind, Brian, and this would be my big takeaway, was Kevin Sumlin needs to be fired. I mean, that was as bad as Kyle Shanahan in the Super Bowl. You watched them in the second half. Half the time they were still going no huddle up by 30 points, and they're snapping the ball with 15. At one time they snapped the ball with 20 seconds left on the play clock.
The second half, what really was shocking to me was that part of it was shocking. Although, when you're a no-huddle team, you have to know how to slow it down some. But, I mean, they're trying to –
you no-huddle and snap the ball with 2 seconds on the play clock.
Right. But what killed me about them is, I mean, their quarterbacks couldn't throw the ball in the ocean standing on a rock in the middle of the ocean. They can't do it. They have no passing game. And the really great part about that game was watching UCLA just once they got on the road and Rosen got on a roll. I mean, it was amazing watching that comeback. It was a great comeback. I admit I turned the game off. I ended up having to go back and watch it because I was amazed when I said there's no way, and I went back and watched it. Like, I can't believe they came back. But to me, Sumlin is the epitome of a guy that's a great recruiter. He just does not know what to do with the guys once he got them. And I think you're starting to see that. And they're starting to see it at Texas A&M too. I know they've had a lot of beef, and I'm here in Texas, and I mean, even being 5 hours away from College Station, I came back to Texas last night and today. I've probably read 2 articles in our local paper about his seat is white hot right now. So it's not going to take too much for him to lose his job before the season ever ends, I don't think.
All right, so Brian, what was your... Go ahead, Bill.
No, I was just going to say I didn't understand. I mean, all A&M had to do, and they brought in a true freshman because the other guy got hurt, so all they had to do was hand the ball off 3 times and punt, and they would have won the game.
Yeah, just like Atlanta in the Super Bowl. But for some reason, these guys, I don't know why they want to keep, playing the way they are when they're up by that many. Yeah,
I don't get it. And Rosen it got ridiculous. I mean, he was throwing the ball, falling down, and every other way, and his receivers were just running under the ball. They did a great job. So I enjoyed watching Rosen come back.
That was one of those instances where I know, Mike and I have always had the conversation about gunslinger quarterbacks, and many times gunslinger quarterbacks will lose you games. That's one of those instances where that gunslinger mentality actually brought, because I mean you're down 34 points. What do you got to lose if you throw a couple interceptions? You might as well just you might as well just throw it and
big difference between being a gunslinger down 44-10 and being a gunslinger up 24-10 or playing a Super Bowl.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's the whole thing is we saw that that mentality where, I mean, look, I got nothing to lose. It does not matter if we lose 44-10 or if we lose 64-10. It doesn't matter. And I loved watching that. And my biggest takeaway was just the upsets. I love college football for that. And you got Howard going to UNLV and they're 43-point underdogs and they win. And Liberty goes to Baylor and beats Baylor. And then Maryland ruins Texas Herman's debut in a way that nobody saw coming. Those are the fun parts of college football when everybody thinks they know, and then you get games like that where you have all these big upsets and. Maryland was supposed to be the sacrificial lamb for Texas. That didn't happen. That's what makes college football fun.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and pick this week's games. We just picked the top 10 games like we did last year. We're going to start off with Lamar Jackson and Louisville Cardinals at the North Carolina Tar Heels. I think this is going to be an entertaining game. Jackson, I think, answered pretty much all questions that anybody may have had about a possible sophomore slump. He was amazing against Purdue. They won the game. I don't think the Cardinals are as talented as they were last year, but he's worth the price of admission. North Carolina lost their season opener to Cal 35-30, and their problem seems to be at the quarterback position. They don't really have anybody to replace Trubisky. North Carolina is a 6-point underdog at home against Louisville. Brian, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Louisville. I think Louisville has a little bit more on the table right now North Carolina has, especially in the quarterback position. I do agree. I don't think Louisville's as talented as they were last year, but still pretty good talent team, and they've got talent at the right positions. And I think they will beat North Carolina. I think it'll be a good game, though.
I also think it'll be a good game, but I'm picking Louisville also. They're just so talented at the quarterback, and I think he's actually trying to prove something again this year, that he can repeat the Heisman, and he's going to put on a show for everybody every game. And he may not have quite as good a supporting cast, but I think he's somebody to watch all year as long as he stays healthy. So I'm picking Louisville.
All right, I'm going to go with you guys. I think Lamar Jackson will be too much. I don't think North Carolina can score enough points to keep up with them. That brings us to the next game. The Iowa Hawkeyes travel to Iowa State. Iowa State's a 3-point underdog. The Hawkeyes really impressed me with the 24-3 win over Josh Allen in Wyoming. And the Hawkeyes are a really physical team. Iowa State's led by quarterback Jacob Park, and they run the ball well, so I think this is going to be a battle on the ground. I'm going to go with Iowa and give the points. What do you think, Bill?
I think I'm going to take Iowa too. I like them too. I always like the way they play ball. I haven't watched them this year, but I like Iowa.
All right, Brian.
Yeah, I like Iowa, but this has always been a great rivalry and always been close games, even when you may have a team that maybe isn't as good as the other. There have been years where Iowa's been really, really good, and Iowa State has given them trouble beating them. There's been years where Iowa's been kind of down, Iowa State's been good, and Iowa's beating them. It's always been a good battle. But I think Iowa just has a little bit too much. I think their physical play, I think, is going to wear down, and I think this is a team that I think can be a definite sleeper team in the Big Ten.
All right, that brings us to another Big Ten team, the Michigan State Spartans. They're a 7-point favorite over the Western Michigan Broncos. Western Michigan lost head coach P.J. Fleck to Minnesota, another Big Ten team. They're still a really good team, though. They went life or death with USC for 3 quarters before running out of gas. Michigan State, of course, is trying to bounce back from a subpar season, which I think it's the first time it's happened since D'Antonio's been there. They won last week 35-10 over Bowling Green. Brian, we'll start with you. I think this is going to be a good game.
Yeah, I think it will be a good game. I feel like Michigan State's got a little something to prove after last year, and I think they're kind of coming out with that chip on their shoulder. And I think this is just another one of those games where they want to come out and kind of establish themselves and establish what they're going to be as a football team. And so I do think that Michigan State will beat Western Michigan in this game. But I think Western Michigan is a good team, and I think, again, this is going to be another one of those games that I think will be close.
All right, Bill?
I'm going to take Western Michigan. I think after last week, they've got probably a lot more confidence in what they really deserve to have, but I think they're probably still riding high from that game last week and feel like they can compete with anybody. And although I know their coach is gone, obviously some of his influences remain behind with them. So I'm going to take Western Michigan.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a close game, and I think it wouldn't surprise me if Western Michigan's within the 7-point spread that you see on MyBookie AG. I'm going to go with Michigan State in a close game just because my question for Western Michigan is at the quarterback position, where they lost a lot when they lost their starter last year. I think they still run the ball very well. They're a good defensive team. I think this is a close game, but I think Michigan State wins it something like 20-17. Next game, the Fresno State Bulldogs will travel to Alabama to play the Crimson Tide. They are 42.5-point underdogs at Fresno State. Alabama is always loaded on both sides of the ball. As Bill said, the offense hasn't seemed to click yet. Fresno State's coming off a 66-0 win over something called Incarnate Ward, whatever the hell that is. So that tells us nothing about the Bulldogs. Bill, would you give the 42.5 points?
I got to actually think about this one. I got to. I can't do it any other way. Yeah, I'm going to give the 42.5 and take Alabama because I think that Alabama will have a big offensive game after last week. I'm hoping they correct some mistakes, and I think we'll be able to probably should be able to run the ball at will on Fresno State. But I'm going to pick Alabama and give the points.
All right, I'm going to take Fresno State and take the points just because. I mean, if Bama's struggling on offense, 42.5 points is a lot of points. I think Fresno State's a good enough team that they can probably get a couple touchdowns maybe on Alabama. I don't know. Fresno or Florida State couldn't, but if they can get to 14, that means you guys got to get to 57 to be able to beat it.
I mean, I don't. I'm just betting with my heart, not my head. I just have to. So.
Well, I realize that, Bill. Just like last year when I picked Clemson in a championship game and you picked Alabama. Brian, do you want to give the 42.5 or do you want to take them?
Yeah, I'm going to give the 42.5. The one thing that and again, I'm obviously not a huge Alabama fan, but I have become more of a Nick Saban fan. A, because I love his pressers. I think the way he rips guys in pressers, I think is hilarious. But B, the one thing about him that's always impressed me is they seem to come out after weeks where the first week played Florida State. I don't think there was any way to say that he was very happy with a lot of things that he saw and how things went. But it seems like when you give him, especially a sacrificial lamb the next week, Alabama tends to come out with a chip on their shoulder. And I don't, and it's funny because, they're going to win this game. I mean, if Fresno State wins this game, it would be monumental upset. But they almost come out with a chip on their shoulder, and I think that they're going to be physically they're going to really look to physically dominate Fresno State.
Remember this, Schmidt. There was a bigger underdog that won last week.
Absolutely. Howard.
I know. All right, next game. The Nebraska Cornhuskers at the Oregon Ducks, two teams trying to get back to national prominence. Nebraska had a good season last year, lost a lot of players, though. They have a lot of questions entering the season. I don't think they answered too many of them with a 43-36 home win over Arkansas State. I think they're called the Red Wolves. The Oregon Ducks are led by Royce Freeman, who was dominant in last week's win. The question is, can he do it against Nebraska? Oregon is a 13-point favorite. I'll start this one off. I'm going to take Oregon and give the points. I think Royce Freeman's going to be too much for him. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I'm going to take Oregon. And the one thing is Arkansas State has been a good football team over the last 4 or 5 years. And the one thing that when I watch Nebraska now, it's just so different from back in the 90s and the 80s. Is they nobody fears them the way they used to be feared. And we saw that last week with the Arkansas State game. And Oregon's not going to fear them. Oregon's going to come out flying around, and I think Oregon's going to win this game. And I'm not real sure it'll be close.
All right, Bill. Oregon's favored by 13 over Nebraska.
Yeah, I'm going with Oregon too. I don't think Nebraska can stay with them. I think Oregon's going to come out just flying around and like they do. And as you said, Nebraska is not the Nebraska of old that anybody really worries too much about yet. So going with Oregon.
All right, so real quick before we get to the last 5 games we're going to pick this week, let's take a time out to check out mybookie.ag.
We'll get back to the podcast in just about a minute here, but first, football season is here, and if you're one of those fans of the NFL, the CFL, or college football who likes to make things interesting on game day, be sure to check out the offerings at mybookie.ag, a sponsor of the Grueling Truth Network. MyBookie reminds you that where you're betting is just as important as what you're betting on. MyBookie.ag offers the full range of point spreads, lines, odds, futures, proposition bets, and parlays on NFL, CFL, and FBS games that you'd find at any proper sportsbook online or off. They've also got the very trendy and exciting in-game live betting options as well. MyBookie offers all first-time players a 100% deposit bonus, thereby doubling your initial bankroll. And MyBookie accepts players from worldwide, including the US and Canada. MyBookie.ag offers 24-hour multilingual customer service and chat, plus a handy app for your mobile device. Best of all about MyBookie.ag, though, is the payout time. MyBookie promises payouts to your account within 2 business days of request. So the next time you're wagering on football, or baseball, or basketball, or soccer, or any major sport, really, check out MyBookie.ag, sponsor of The Grueling Truth. Use promo code CFBPICKS or NFLPICKS to get a 100% match bonus on your first deposit. That's promo code CFBPICKS or NFLPICKS. Thank you, and please always play responsibly.
Gee. All right, guys, we're back with the College Football Weekly Pick'em Show. We're at week 2 to the second half of the show, the final 5 games of the week. And this next game, to me, is a lock. I think it's one of the worst point spreads that you could possibly have. I don't know how it's like this. But the Missouri Tigers are favored by 2.5 points somehow over the South Carolina Gamecocks. The Gamecocks won a classic game against NC State last week, and I think they're going to be a threat in the SEC. Missouri, on the other hand, comes off a 73-42 win. I mean, I'm taking the Cocks and the 2.5 points. How about you, Bill?
Definitely taking South Carolina. I don't know how they. Well, I do know how Missouri's offense is supposed to be pretty good, but they're not good enough to beat South Carolina.
No, I don't think this point spread blew me away. And I'll tell you what, my neighbor's a betting man, and he bet that game as soon as he saw it. Schmitty, who you got?
Yeah, I'm with your neighbor on this, and I don't understand this either. South Carolina, I actually watched late the Missouri game, and I mean, good offense, but I mean they couldn't stop me if I was playing against them. They're not good defensively, and South Carolina I think is good in a lot of areas, and I just don't think Missouri is going to be able to withstand a team that actually is going to continually punch them in the mouth hard, and South Carolina is going to do that.
All right, the next game, we got a battle of the SEC and the ACC. We get the defending national champions. No, it's not the Alabama Crimson Tide, the Clemson Tigers, who will host the Auburn Tigers. The line on this game right now on MyBookie.ag is the Clemson Tigers favored by 9. That's a lot of points in this game for 2 good football teams. Clemson, of course, wasn't tested in week 1, so we don't really know a lot about them now. But what we do know is they got Dabo Swinney, who's one of the best coaches in the country. Auburn is a team that's pretty good on both sides of the ball. I think they can compete with anybody in the country. So, Bill, you take the 9 points, or do you give the 9 points?
As much as it hurts, I'm going to have to take Auburn. I think Auburn, not that I know much about them other than what they're supposed to be this year, and they haven't lived up to that in the last couple of years, but I still think that they have a really good chance to win the game. And their defense is supposed to be extremely tough this year, and with a new quarterback that's supposed to be their savior, I'm going to take Auburn.
All right, Brian.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Auburn in this as well. I like the fact that I feel like they're a good football team on both sides. They do some good things, and I'm not sold now with Clemson with new quarterback and everything. I'm not sold that they're ready for this game yet. Maybe 5-6 weeks from now, but right now I'm not sold that they're ready for this game. And I think they may struggle, and I think Auburn can win this game.
Well, I'm not sold either, but I'm taking Clemson. I'm just going to go with Dabo. I think the guy's a great coach, and I think as long as he's there, they're never going to have to rebuild. They're going to be like a Bama or Ohio State, where they just kind of reload every year. So Kelly Bryant's their new starting quarterback. He's not Deshaun Watson, but who is? I'm going to just take a flyer, and I'm going to go with Dabo. I'm going to take Clemson and give the points. The next game, the Georgia Bulldogs at the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Notre Dame beat a probably below-average Temple team. It was coming off a great year but lost almost everybody to start the season. Georgia played well last week. I mean, they've got a couple quarterbacks from, took over for Eason, played great. You got Nick Chubb. And Notre Dame's favored by 6.5. I'm taking Georgia in the points, Brian. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to take Georgia. I agree with you. I think everything you said, I think is spot on, and I like this Georgia team. Just something to look at this team. I think this is going to be a good team through the year, and could spring some potential upsets as the year goes on.
All right, Bill.
Yeah, I'm going to take Georgia too because of Nick Chubb and Sonny Michel, and I think they're going to develop into a really good team this year in the East. So I'm going to take Georgia.
All right. I'm taking them. The other game I took because Dabo was the coach. I'm picking against Notre Dame because Brian Kelly is. I can't stand that dude. But the next game, the Oklahoma Sooners at the Ohio State Buckeyes, probably game of the week. The Buckeyes struggled for three quarters at Indiana, actually behind with 3 minutes left in the third quarter before blowing the Hoosiers out. My only question with them is J.T. Barrett. It's kind of, to me, it reminds me a little bit about Jalen Hurts. You keep waiting for him to do something and improve, and it just doesn't seem to kick in. And he's had 4 years to improve. Hurts is still young in his career. The Sooners are led by Heisman Trophy candidate Baker Mayfield. The thing that really stuck out to me is Oklahoma is in the midst of an 11-game road winning streak. I'm going to take a flyer. I think the Buckeyes might win this. I think it's going to be a close game, but I'm going to take the 7.5 points in Oklahoma. How about you, Bill?
Same thing. I'm taking Oklahoma 7.5. I wasn't impressed with Ohio State last week, and I just think Oklahoma's got a better team. And Baker Mayfield, once again, he's one of those guys trying to win a Heisman Trophy. So I think he'll show out this week against Ohio State.
All right, Schmidt, I already know what you're picking, right?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to pick Ohio State to win, but I'm on Oklahoma with the points. But the thing about J.T. Barrett is he's 50% of the problem. The other 50% of the problem is, with the exception of number 21, they have not one receiver on Ohio State that can create separation. Not one.
Yeah, but they did last year, and he wasn't any better. Yeah, Samuel.
They were not creating a lot of separation last year, but it's bad. And the thing about Barrett, what the problem is there's two kind of quarterbacks. One kind of quarterback that can hit you when you're open, and the other kind of quarterback that are usually the elite quarterbacks that can throw you open. J.T. Barrett can't throw anybody open. So he needs his receivers to get separation, which they don't, with the exception of 21, which I think is Coleman. Those are the only receivers he's the only guy that can create separation. Now, Ohio State, I like their run game. I love the rookie, the young freshman. I think he's going to be good. But I think that until Barrett is never going to be any better than what he is. They're going for Ohio State to have any. They're going to have to continue to do all the things around him. And in that Indiana game, watching that game, while I was not impressed with a lot of things Ohio State did early, Indiana also came out, and they played about as well as you could play for three quarters. So you have to give them a little bit of credit as well. But this Ohio State team is going to be a hard team to judge right now. And I think they will win this game because it's at Ohio Stadium, 7 o'clock kickoff, which means the fans will start drinking about 9 a.m. It'll be rowdy. And Ohio State's usually done very well in night games at Ohio Stadium. But it's going to be a very hard team. This game is going to be a real eye-opener to see where this Ohio State team is. And if they come out and play really well, then it may shut some of the concerns down. But I think Oklahoma is going to play well. I think it'll be a close game. But I think Ohio State will win, but Oklahoma will get the points.
All right, the final game of our 10 games we're picking this week, we got the Stanford Cardinal at the USC Trojans. Stanford's led by what I think is one of the best coaches in the country, David Shaw. They look like they're poised to maybe contend for a Pac-12 title again. USC, of course, is led by explosive running back Ronald Jones, quarterback Sam Darnold. The question with them is, can the defense hold up? They gave up 31 points to Western Michigan last week. The Trojans go into the game as a 7-point favorite. Schmidt, you taking USC in the point, or giving the points, or taking Stanford and taking the points?
I'm going to take USC. I do agree with Stanford. I think USC is going, that big improvement for a football team is always from week 1 to week 2. I think USC is going to come out. I think they're really establish the team that they're going to be. And it'll take nothing away from Stanford, but I think USC is a good football team, and I think they're going to show in this game. And this is a game that they want to, because USC has not exactly been the USC powerhouse for a while. And if they want to get there, these are the games that you've got to win and you've got to show real well. So I think USC is going to take this one.
All right, Bill, you want the points? You giving the points?
I'm going to take USC, just only because of their quarterback.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with you because I really like Darnold. He didn't play that great last week. I think people underestimate how good Western Michigan still is, though, coming off of last year even. I think Michigan State will run in that and find out a little bit this week, even though they may not lose the game. Western Michigan still can play with dang near anybody in the country. So that wraps up our Week 2 show. Do we have any final words, Brian?
Just looking forward to football this weekend. Going to be a lot of really good games, a lot of fun games to watch. So get your wings out and your favorite adult beverage and enjoy some football.
Yeah, and in 30 minutes, Brian, we get to do the CFL Weekly Pick'em Show.
I know, and wait, so Oz won't be there for that one either?
No, it's just me, and it'll get over quicker. It'll just be me, you, and Robert Drummond. So.
Oh, man.
Hey, right now, we're doing this show in like a half hour. If Oz was here, this would be an hour and 20 minutes, and we'd have to tell him about our lives.
Well, I know that, but with no Oz to pick on, it's just no fun.
Well, we could pick on each other like we do on the Pick'em Show and the NFL Pick'em Show.
Well, yeah, but people expect that of us, and they just tune us out. When we pick on Oz, it brings ratings. So
we'll see. All right, Bill, any final words? And tell us where we can get your book and a little bit about it.
Well, you can get the book, High Tide, A Story of Football, Free Fall, and Forgiveness on Amazon for $11.99 for the paperback, or you can get the Kindle edition. It's just a book about a guy who made a whole bunch of mistakes and was finally able to get his life headed in the right direction after a long time being homeless in the streets. And it's got a little football in it. And it's got a lot of heartache in it, but it has a good ending. So please try it out. I think you'll like it.
All right, and we definitely got to do a show about that book too. Maybe next Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm ready when you are, brother.
All righty. I got no final words. I'm going to tell everybody to check us out at thegruelingtruth.net. If you want to check out our NFL season preview show, we did that with former San Francisco 49er Randy Cross. It's up on the website. Last night we did the NFL Pick'em show with former Denver Bronco Mark Cooper. You can check that out on the website. You can hear all of our shows on iHeart, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Anywhere you find sports podcasts, you can find The Grueling Truth. I want to remind everybody to go hit up mybookie.ag and bet a lot of money on South Carolina over Missouri and take them points before those points drop, because they definitely probably will by Saturday. I can tell you this, I already bet it, so me and my neighbor. But I want to thank all the guys for coming on again. Our show will air again, or we'll tape it Sunday night. It'll probably be out Monday for Week 3, so make sure you check us out there also. Oz Davis will hopefully be back by then, so Brian Schmidt's got somebody to pick on. So for Brian Schmidt, Bill Searcy, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.